You're listening to the Icandemy Podcast, the podcast for people who can but don't know how. This is where you get actionable steps to turn vague dreams into blissful realities. And I'm your host, Omoshola Victoria Wolabi. So let's get started. Do you ever think to yourself, I want to be able to impact lives, leave an imprint in this world, but you feel isolated, stuck, unclear on how to show up or get started? If you've answered yes to this question, I want to extend a very special invitation to you to join us on our upcoming workshop, the Courageous Confidence Workshop. This workshop is live, where we get to work together on that call so that you can crack the confidence code, awaken your inner giant, show up authentically, and attract your tribe. Head on over to offers.icandemy.org/courageous. Again, it's offers.icandemy.org/courageous. You'll find the links in the show notes below. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of the Icandemy Podcast. I hope you had a great week. I'll just go straight into it. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about emotions, or like I always like to call it, she or he motions. Last week on the last episode, I discussed leveraging pain, how we can actually shift our perspective to start to see pain in a different light, in a way that can actually serve us, in a way that we're able to frame our mind to make that pain work to our advantage. And as I was recording that episode, and as I finished recording, I kind of thought to myself, in order for us to be able to put pain in the right perspective, we have to learn how to deal with our emotions or recognize our emotions. And that's why on today's episode, I decided I want to talk about emotions. It's something that I love to talk about, something that is a huge part of our life, our daily life, our moving, breathing existence has to do with emotions and how we feel, how we understand the emotions, how we perceive our emotions. So there are 6 basic emotions, right? We have anger, happiness, sadness, fear, surprise, disgust. Those are the basic emotions, right? And all of us are familiar with these emotions. We have felt them at one point or another. Now, remember, I don't know if you listened to one episode when I talked about the faculty of the soul. Emotion is one of those faculties of the soul. Just to remind you or joggle your memory, in the faculty of the soul, we actually talked about the mind, the will, and the emotions as the components of the soul. And I know in that episode, my focus there was basically the mind. I want to focus now on our emotions and how they affect the faculty of the soul, or how they affect our very existence. Now, our emotions can be complex, but that does not mean we should shy away from trying to understand or learn about our emotions. Because like I said, if we are to leverage pain, if we are to come out victorious on the other side, learning about our emotions and how to manage those emotions is very crucial. Because when we close the door to our emotions, we close the door to the vital flow that energizes and activates our thoughts and actions. Our emotions, God created emotions for a reason, right? Even the Bible tells us, right, that God also has emotions. So this is a very crucial part of our existence that we should not close the door to. Because without an awareness of our emotions, we cannot associate the effects of anger, sadness, grief, joy within ourselves and others. We cannot articulate, why am I feeling sad? Why am I joyful? Why do I feel angry? We have to be aware of our emotions. It's a crucial part of our existence and who we are. Because without an awareness of our feelings and emotions, we also cannot experience compassion. Because emotions are the currents of energy, right, that pass through us, that pass through our being. And awareness of these currents is the first step to learning about how our experiences come into being and why. Now, this is not to say that all of our experiences will always have a why behind it. But what I'm saying is, if we first of all grasp our emotions, so for example, if you walk into a room and all of a sudden you come into this overwhelming feeling of sadness, it is important that we're able to label how we are feeling, to actually say, okay, right now I feel a sense of heaviness, or right now I feel a sense of sadness. And once you are aware, you can name that emotion. The next step follows, the why. Why am I feeling this way? Why is it that when I walked into this room, all of a sudden I was fine, but now I feel unhappy, or I feel sad, or I feel disgusted, or I feel joyful? All of these things is crucial that we learn how to articulate our emotions and become intimate with our emotions. I know. You've heard it a lot. Oh, don't follow your emotions. Your emotions are finicky. Yes, that is true. However, we can only be able to identify the emotions to follow and the ones not to follow when we have an adequate understanding. When we are intimate with our emotions actually will help us perceive messages from our spirit, right? And that will help us become a compass to navigate our lives, a compass to leverage pain. So it is absolutely crucial that we are intimate with our emotions. How do we become intimate with something or someone? When we know a lot about that something or that someone, right? And that is why I am recording this today, just so that we can bring an awareness, start a conversation around our emotion, right? And that brings me to the term emotional intelligence. How do we actually become intimate with our emotions? Okay, family, let's face it, we've all felt pain. We've suffered the losses. You know what it's like to want something so bad, but not see a path to its accomplishment. The question, however, is, do you know how to pick yourself up and move on despite what has happened? This is what I share with you inside of my new book, Good Medicine for the Crushed Spirit, a practical guide to helping you find purpose when adversity strikes. Inside this book, you will find personal stories, relatable biblical tales, and anecdotes that prove you are never alone in your despair and will inspire you to turn pain, discomfort, disappointment, or setbacks into something positive that works for you. So if you're ready to change your life in meaningful and purposeful ways, get your copy of this book today and let the transformation begin. Emotional intelligence is the ability for us to perceive, evaluate, and control our emotions, right? It is when we can identify, acknowledge, and manage our own emotions as well as the emotions of others. What do I mean by that? When you walk into a room, right, and you sense, right, like, something is not right. You perceive something is not right by the way you're feeling, right? The next step, like I said before, is to evaluate that what is not right here. You start to scan your surroundings. You start to pay close attention, right? What is going on here? What is the underlying tone of this whole environment? Why do I feel this way? And now, based on that evaluation, you are able to come to a response. How do I respond to this evaluation? Like, what have you picked up? Is it a false alarm? Right? Maybe there's nothing wrong. Maybe you're just feeling out of your element because it's a new environment and you just need some time to adjust. Or maybe there's a real sense of danger that you should be aware of and you need to map out a plan on how to exit that situation. Or maybe somebody said something to you as you walked in the room, or somebody looked at you a certain way. They didn't even have to say anything to you. Maybe as you walked in, somebody looked at you a certain way. I remember one time I went for this event, right? It's so funny. I went for this event, and in the whole event, there were about 500 women in the room. It was a leadership conference, and I was the only woman of color in the room. Well, I don't want to say of color because there were other nationalities there of color, but what I mean, I'll say black woman in the room. So as I walked in, I was walking up the stairs, and my shoes, I had these high heels on, and the floor was wooden floor. So as I walked up the stairs, I couldn't help it. Like, I literally wanted to crawl up the stairs, but I couldn't. That would have been so awkward. So I went as quietly as I could possibly go. But my shoes just started making that ka, 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 ka sound as I walked up the stairs. And believe you me, some women turned, and the look they gave me was that of disgust. In that moment, I felt like, oh, floor, just open up and swallow me. Like, I can't do this anymore. But I didn't do that. When I turned and I locked eyes with these women and I could read the look on their face, I interpreted it as disgust. It may not have been, in all fairness, but I interpreted it as disgust. And when I looked at their face, I had this overwhelming sense of anger and disgust as well, if I'm being honest. Like, why are they looking at me like that? Like, can't you see these are wooden floors? I'm not intentionally trying to make noise. But I was able to immediately evaluate my own feelings and say, you know what? You are here for a reason. You are not going to let these women who you do not know affect how you feel and stop you from enjoying this event that you have paid to attend, right? That's what I mean by emotional intelligence, the ability to perceive. I could evaluate, and I could control my response to that. Another thing that I could have done is looked at them, sighed at them and stormed out of the event in anger. But I didn't do that, right? That's why it's important that we learn how to evaluate, perceive, evaluate, and control our emotions. When you are able to do that, that is what we define as emotional intelligence. And our ability to do this, our ability to be emotionally intelligent, is absolutely crucial in every area of our lives, be it in your marriage, in your relationships with your children, at work, in your business, in anything that you do, in leveraging pain, in coming out on the other side. It is important that we know how to manage our emotions, because emotions, like I said, are messengers, right? They are not disruptors, right? But if we don't know how to manage them, they become a disruption in our lives instead of messengers. Emotions are messengers, and every emotion serves a purpose, right? So for example, if I wake up feeling lonely, it's telling me something about myself, like, hey, you're lacking human connection. Why are you feeling lonely? If I'm anxious, for example, it means I am not living in the present. I am fixated on the future. That is why I'm feeling anxious right now. If I'm frustrated, it means I'm hitting obstacles that may require a new approach or new perspective, right? So if I keep hitting the same obstacles over and over again, it's time, the message there, that emotion of frustration is telling me something. Look, hey, try it another way. Or think about it a different way. Shift your perspective, right? If I'm feeling overwhelmed, it means I have lost sight of priorities and boundaries. It means I've put too much on my plate. If I'm angry, it means it's either I'm not being heard or I have been violated in a way that requires my attention or protection. Like I said in the example that I gave about the event that I went to, when I saw that face of those women of disgust, right? What came up inside me was anger. The emotion was anger and disgust as well in response to what they were doing. So what I did was I had to take control of that emotion to say, you know what? Yes, I could understand from the perspective, maybe me walking up the stairs was a bit distracting, and I get that, right? I also had a role to play in that. But in that moment, I was trying to make my way up to my seat. I couldn't help it. I just couldn't help it. I couldn't take off my shoes and hold it in my hands just to go to my seat. Sorry, it was a slight inconvenience, but me understanding from their perspective and mine what was going on, I was able to perceive, evaluate, and control my response. This is something that excites me to talk about, and I really wish I could go on, but that will make this episode so long. So thank you so much for listening, and let me know, how do you manage your emotions? Do you have any stories of where you were able to perceive, evaluate, and control your emotions? I would love to hear them. So head on over to www.icandemy.org/ No, no / www.icandemy.org. There's a voice message thing there where you can send me a message. Or if that's not your jam, no problem. Send me an email to hello@icandemy.org. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And until the next one, keep on shining. This episode is sponsored by our very own Mogul Mindset Training. Are you ready to embrace new experiences, see opportunities where you thought there was none, and totally surprise yourself? Because you can, by unleashing the power of your mind. Mogul Mindset System is a 5-step system that helps you retrain your mind to work with you and not against you, so you can awaken your inner giant, 10x your impact, your income, and become truly unstoppable. The truth is, you, my friend, have a superpower, your creative genius, and I'm here to make that power multiply manyfold so you can get past fear, self-doubt, and finally start working and thriving in your life and business. Ready to unleash your superpowers? I thought you would. Head over to mogul.icandemy.org. That's mogul.icandemy.org to learn more. So there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And for more content like this, follow us on our social media handles. On Facebook, it's at Icandemy, the Facebook page. On Instagram, it's at Icandemy. Or come say hello over on my personal page. On Instagram, it's at Omoshola Speaks. On Facebook, it's Victoria Wolabi. Feel free to reach out, introduce yourself, say hello. I love meeting you. And if you have any stories that you feel will inspire another woman to action, I want to hear from you. I really do. I love hearing from you. Send me an email to hello@icandemy.org. So it's hello@icandemy.org.